So, females, I hope you are here. Part 2. Killing it OJ in the streets, so not taking any prisoners. Please, relax, sister. Relax. Give yourself patience. Do it or else you won't be handled, sir. Anyway, let's communicate. If you were me in part 1, good, I don't have to recap. But if you weren't, please go check out previous parts so you can gauge your bearings. That we might be on one little same plane concerning what's going on. In the previous part, I spoke about how it is that women, you can absolutely dream on about ever conquering me. And you need to overcome whatever jealousy, issues, or competitiveness, spite that you might have against me, because I'm your best shot now at surviving what's coming to you. And also, I am good to advise those who are yet to go through what under heaven you're going to inevitably put yourself through, because you don't want to listen to it, sister. I had this young female who found me on TikTok. She was only 20 years old, 19 turning 20, and she found me intriguing, however quite heavy, because of the advice I gave her, because she wasn't ready to down tools. She wasn't ready to let go of sowing a royal oats or whatever. She wasn't ready to let go of testing this market, these streets. And I kept on telling her, sisters, if you don't listen to me, you will only ever end up one of two females. Either a really good girl that is going to stay single until you're 50, perpetually pursued by married men that passed you up when you were 21, or you're gonna be the one that these gangsters leave for the better girl. Either way, you're gonna be miserable if you don't heed me now. And this woman, this young lady, imagined me some bitter broad whose life has just been ransacked and discombobulated, and so I can't think straight. I've inhaled the gases of sorrow, and they have made my brain fuzzy. They have scrambled my understanding, and she's gonna just go out in this world, these wildernesses, these bushes, and figure it out on her own. She was convicted enough by the Holy Spirit to, be drawn to me enough to write me an email. But when I started to give her advice and lead her to my videos, she was like, she's a sandbag and she's too heavy. And so she stopped writing me. She stopped replying to my emails. I was like, you know what, little bird? Go on, try and fly when your wings have been clipped. All I can do is give you advice. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. So, young ladies, as for older girls, there is no way to get out of your pain but for taking my advice. Because what you can only experience now as an older woman is healing. Not so much a restored or a recovered or a fresh start or a begin from the beginning. You are not going to get that. You need to understand it. Right now, as an older woman that's made these mistakes, you just gotta seek the Lord's face for ugupola, hofola. Moving on, basically being given a strength by Jesus to move on. That's what you need to gun for as an older lady. But as a younger woman, you can actually get that Jovan start. And when I say young, allow me to define youth right now. Youth is not even so much chronological like you're 21 or 22. It is experience. It is what you've done. It is what you've already settled for. You're older if you've already kind of married a deadbeat, but you're younger if you are yet to make this mistake. So you could qualify as an older woman at only the age of 25 because you is already in a marriage with some fool trying to leave you for a better girl. Why? Because you chose to be a savage. Anyway, righto. So basically I qualify as young. Why? Because I dodged the bullet. And thank God they blew it. Thank God I dodged the bullet. So of you, baby, good looking out. Yeah, no, Mara, these people whose bullet I dodged, they're still trying to come back. So I'm always wearing that bulletproof vest now. And I'm like, boy, booty, let's talk. Out of all of you, who exactly am I gonna choose, seeing as you're trying to come back? Eh? Seeing as you're trying to come back like proper. Why under heaven are you making like a flu sword try to come back? Why? Move on! Anyway, Let's take a sip of our tea. Yes. Amen. Yes. Amen. 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 Morana, just so what's here, guys. Jesus predicts. So if you was a 45-year-old woman that's never been married, and also it's a posozena, you might as well be a spring chicken baby girl, cause our time is here. Hey, hey, So I'm not being ageist here. I'm not saying that you are young when you're 20. You are young when you have dodged these bullets, because proper laban lababaya cookies. Anyway, let's get to the point. All right, I did say that in the previous part I was speaking. I highlighted that there is like this issue, and now the tables are beginning to turn, and I'm feeling the sorrow that basically is a reverse kind of sorrow from the sorrow that I felt in the beginning. And for me, it's like, I'm sorry, like no, like why, hey, like libalang, haribuing. I spoke about those songs in my previous part. Those songs that Tony Braxton, that the Lord used to basically communicate to me what is the dynamic going on here, and I'm going to explain every last one of them. The first song that I spoke about was that one, yeah, who do you think I am, don't you know that he was my man, yeah. And then the second one was Unbreak My Heart, and then the third one was what was the third one? God, please bring it back to me. At night when he lays down, how I wish I could not hear the sound. And then the last one was the all night with you there beside me. Alrighty, yeah, imagine Tony Braxton being in two different frames of minds, basically living in two different dimensions. The one Tony Braxton is the pursued, but the other Tony Braxton is the left, the bereaved, the bereft, the abandoned. She literally qualifies as both these women. Her songs have been used by God to communicate to me basically the hard cry, the plight of two groups of women. One of them is the pursued, one of them is the abandoned, and I'm trying to rescue both. I am also trying to rescue the woman that is in the middle, basically facing a future of currently being ignored, only to in the future end up just like lambasted by pestilent men that will not stop. They won't down tools again because they have loved sorcery. We're gonna unravel this, unpack it until it's nice and packed, okay? Like a take-a-lot package. Point. Let's get to it. Alrighty. First song. What is this? What was it going to get? Who do you think I am? Don't you know that he was my man? If you go and look at that music video, and if you also go and perhaps read those lyrics, you will know that the song is basically about a wife, right? A woman who married the ex-boyfriend of another woman. And because she basically got the ring, she's boastful, she's proud, she's a little pikako. She is literally, you are like the ex-girlfriend is a woman that the guy was with maybe like a couple of years, 4, 5, 3, writing it out in, early youth, and it appears as if though y'all are gonna get married. Like, those relationships. You date a guy, you're 22, he's 26, and y'all date for so long that every basically family members know each other, and it is expected that one day one day there's going to be dowry paid, bridal price, and this thing is gonna end up in marriage inevitably. Like, everybody expects that this is going to end up in marriage, and then it doesn't, and the person that leaves this union is the female in question, not the guy. But the reason why the female even leaves the dude that she was once upon a time prepared to accept the marriage proposal of is because it's because this guy was annoying. It's because he just did not, add up. He didn't make sense. He was a little baby. He wouldn't grow up. He was immature. He used to hurt her. He also, let's just put it out there, wasted time. So one of those guys, like, you're dating, but dude, it's been 3 years. Dude, it's been 4 years. It's been 10. Dude, why do we need to date for so long before you make an honest woman out of me? Yeah. And you even raise it. You know how women say, don't pressurize a man to get married. Yeah, we like to say that, but like very few women actually just take in their stride men who just kind of, string them along. They very, like, they tell themselves that they're not going to be that girl. They tell themselves that they're not going to be the girl that is going to be like, God, babe, we've been together for 2 years now. I mean, I need to know. I'm not getting any younger. My biological clock is ticking, blah, 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 blah. Every woman does not want to be the girl to constantly raise this issue, but a lot of women inevitably become that girl. And I was, frankly, in my old relationship. I didn't want to be the girl that's always talking about marriage with a dude. We're both in our 20s, but I became that girl. And this dude, then his response, and that's what keeps you in the relationship, is, we're gonna eventually do it, relax. You know, I need to get this fixed first, and blah, blah, blah. So he's not saying, I don't want you. He's not saying, I'm not gonna marry you. He's saying, yeah, of course, but like, not yet. You know, I got, yeah, type setup thing. So not only is the foot dragging going on, in terms of that issue, but there are other things about this guy that are very ish, you know, a lot is off. Like, a lot is off. Either he's not ambitious the way that you are growing at an astronomical rate, and he's like walking around these streets at like a snail. You are progressing past him at, like, you know, bullet speed. He also is when you talk to him, you know, about like grander, important, deep matters, he appears to be listening to you because he doesn't want to fight, but then he does the exact opposite and doesn't listen to what you have to say, and this becomes like a cycle in the relationship that frustrates the living daylights out of you. When then you dump him, when you leave him because you're tired of just being strung along, first and foremost, and secondly, all the issues that you have, you imagine, are now starting to become deal breakers. When you dump him, comes back groveling, crying, saying, no, but we gonna do this, plus you and I, come on, we ride or die like that. And on top of that, I mean, where else are you gonna find another guy like me that's gonna, like my ex-boyfriend Papa used to say, that no other guy is gonna be able to stand for what basically rubbish I bring forward. He didn't use those exact words, but he used to say, no other guy can handle me. That arrogance, like, oh dude, and I fell for it. You know, for dumb. Yeah, I fell for it. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, every time you try to leave, he basically reels you back in, and your feelings just kind of make you go back anyway. And because women, a lot of times when they're young, before they know Jesus, they just run, sprint, marathon, like they do a triathlon down the aisle instead of walking. That even when there are red flags yawning at you, flailing, cantankerous, they are loud, they are playing drums, even when they're all up in your grill, you are like, you're full of settling. Just full of settling. You just want to get married, and you don't want to be one of those typical statistics in the black community, baby mama without being married, or just unmarried at, like, you know, 38, like Garabo type thing. Because you hope not to be that thing. You want to be the exception to the norm. You are prepared, should this dude propose marriage to you, to say yes, despite there being so many deal breakers in the room. There also likely was like a dude that was a threat to the boyfriend that rocked up, try to holler at you, talk and whatnot, and during a breakup or during a time when you and your boyfriend were fighting, you allowed yourself to go on a date with him or whatever to see if you could do this, but you were just so used to that which was comfortable that you told this dude, you know, thanks for the lunch, but I've been with this guy for 3 years, I've been with this guy for 4 years, I'm not about to start something new, so thanks. And then you realize that, frankly, you would have been better off with the other guy, and the other guy is now all broken, devastated, moves on, marries another woman, and you're like, snap, should have done that rather, because I would have been better off. You are so sutured to this random dude's leg that you end up even telling some other much better guy no, because you're ride or die. Ride or die. You're his ride or die. Yeah, you know that scene go being Mary Jane. Anyway, whatever. That's what's good. Very well. You're that girl. And then somewhere along the way, you like snap out of whatever keeps on taking you back to this rando. Okay? Like you keep dumping him and getting back, suga. At some point you snap out of it. Like, yeah, that's why I use that analogy so very many times to describe the insanity of YouTube to censor the whole planet. We keep on going back to YouTube over and over and over again, despite it being so mean to us. We don't boycott them, but just like the girlfriend that has constantly gone back to a bad dude, but that eventually, one day she's just done. Yeah, one day, like, the whole customer base of YouTube is just gonna be like, I'm done. I'm sick and tired of being censored for no reason at all. I use that analogy because I know that Pina Elea R. Kelly is spot on. When a woman's fed up, oh my, there ain't nothing you can do about it. Proper. There's nothing you can do about a woman that has been ride or die, sat you out for years, and now she's just done. And the thing that makes her get done is the fact that by acting such a fool, these guys, for so long, they don't actually know that they're chipping away at their resilience. They are also chipping away at feelings in the hearts of these women. They are chipping away at that which initially was standing very firm in them. And it takes time, this erosion process of a woman's resilience for men, her long suffering and her fortitude. It takes time to chip away at it. And they don't see when the final brick has been chipped away that causes the whole structure to come tumbling down. So by the time you dump them and it's done, they are shocked. Because they never expect that you will ever be done. They never expect it because of the fortitude. Do you understand? The long suffering, basically. Nonsense. I say black community. It's like, no rubbish. Anyway. Okay, cool. Now you have left the guy, right? Pumeguye. You've moved on from this random buffoonery and you dump him. Like, okay, like you've been dumping him. You've been breaking up, but you've been making Yeah, no, this time around, you dump the okie. But herein lies the deal. Remember this dude? In the beginning, you thought you could make it work. I spoke about that in my previous part, right? When you first start dating, that's the sad thing about women, especially black women. This potential thing, like this mindset, yoguti, he's got potential. How it takes us for a nice little spinning class at the gym that does nothing for your muscles, neither makes you lose weight, yet you keep on going back. How under heaven they take you for a ride. My goodness. Because this dude is putting his best foot forward at the beginning of the relationship, and because he genuinely actually has some pretty strong feelings for you, because he also genuinely just wants to stop being wild. He's like actually looking for a wife. When you start talking initially about changes that must be made and all that jazz, yo, this dude appears to be like getting battered by it. He appears to be getting maneuvered, in his core unto better things. Women are very building of men. The Lord Grandshop made us helper suitables. So when we rock up in a man's life, he improves if he heeds. That's why the Bible says if you don't listen to your wives, your prayers will be hindered. We are helper suitables. So when a man allows a woman to basically do what she's supposed to do, he becomes a better man. So initially, because this dude genuinely is interested, and he's not trying to play, like at all, he's actually in love, he heeds. I remember with my ex, guys, Yazi, when you... First of all, on the day that we met, my cousin, my cousin's boyfriend came to pick us up from some, like, dinner for girls that we were having. Go Santon, go News Cafe. And my cousin's boyfriend came with my would-be boyfriend. Do you understand? And this guy, out of all the girls, decided that he's going to choose me or whatever, right? He liked me. But I remember telling my cousin when we were driving back home, right, that, no, not on the same day. I spoke with this guy. He ended up sitting in the back seat because my cousin was Medi. She was sitting in the front seat, so I was sitting with him in the back, right? And we had like a brief conversation or whatever. My cousin the next day then calls me. He's like, yo, girl, my man's boy is feeling you. He's got hearts in his eyes for you. And I said to my cousin, I can't, because something about him is just offish. He's giving off criminal vibes. Like, I proper said that to my cousin. I was like, something about him is kind of ginsery. And my cousin was like, yeah, okay, I get where you're coming from. I agree. My cousin knew him from before. I had only ever met him that day. And my cousin agreed that there was something off about this guy. And that's what I said, right? But this dude pursued me. At the time, I was dating somebody else. A closet homosexual. I wasn't even in love with him. I was so annoyed by his mannerisms. I was so annoyed by his effeminateness. Like, he was like a little girl. The guy that I was dating was girly. He was like a female papa. He was more like my best friend than my boyfriend. Anyway, whatever. I don't know why I was hanging out in there. So I first told when this guy, then after, like, they were to and froing with my cousin concerning me, I was like, no, I'm not interested in him. At the time, I had lost my cell phone device and I did not yet get a new one. And this guy wanted my number. My would-become boyfriend wanted my number, and my cousin told him she doesn't have a phone right now, right? She's in between phones, basically. And this guy told my cousin, tell her I'll buy a phone just so I can contact her. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes for her. And my cousin, of course, came back and gave me the message, and I found that so chivalrous. I found it very... I was it sparked something in me. Something I was like, oh, really? This guy wants to buy me a phone so he can call me? I didn't allow him to buy me a phone because really, frankly, I didn't want to tie myself to him. And I also told my cousin, after my cousin told me that this dude wants to buy me a phone just so he can holla at his sister, I then told her, besides, I've got a boyfriend. You know, I'm not going to just dump my current boyfriend for this dude. Even though I wasn't in love with this other guy, he was like a little girl. I was dating a chick, for crying out loud. Like, he was so effeminate. He could have been so measy. Anyway, whatever. Right? And I knew that was not going to last. It wasn't. Well, I never left Somizi. Somizi, I think he was trying to prove that he's not a closet homosexual by impregnating some other girl. One day I got a phone call from some female telling me that, let's say his name was Jababi. I was like, because probably he was like a Barbie. I was like, he's like, Jababi's my man. And on top of that, I'm pregnant with his baby. Jababi had left his phone with me by mistake. Go ahead, so, after one day of visiting me. And I answered one of the calls that came through. And this chick was like, where's my man? I was like, I twitched and I glitched. And when then she told me she was pregnant, I was like, you know, I just looked at this phone. I was like, you can have him. You can have Jababi. You can have him because I'm not even in love. He is effeminate. He's like a girl. And on top of that, like, who in the world, like, you're gay, for crying out loud. And you prosper to go and sleep with another woman and impregnate her? Like, the situation was so bizarre to me because Jababi, I'm sorry to have to give these details, was so gay that he struggled to get, you know, ready for me, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I'm not even gonna enter into the details of that because I'm a Christian, right? So for those reasons, I struggled with that, with him. And for me, it was like he impregnated a woman. How did that happen? I was upset, I was annoyed, but I wasn't too heartbroken because I wasn't in love with him. He was too much of a female for my liking, and so I was like, I mean, the guy prospered to hit a home run in there with you in the way that he struggles with me, so clearly you can make a gay man straight. Take him. I don't want him. Like, yeah, when I then ended up, Jababi came to collect his phone, and when he came to collect his phone, he used to call me, sorry, a public phone, right? Because his phone was with me. And on the phone, I told him, your girlfriend called me and told me, one of your girls told me that she's pregnant with your baby. It's over. And when he came to collect the phone, Jababi was laughing at me for being angry. And so that irritated me even more. So for me, it was like, first of all, you're a closet homosexual that impregnated some other woman. It's like, Palisa with Somizi. I was like, get out of my life. I was like, get the stepping on out of my life, Jababi. And he just laughed at me as he walked away. And then he decided to afflict the living daylights out of me years later with witchcraft. Like, yeah. I'm like, dude, you're gay. Why are you even trying to win a woman back? Ole gay. Like, yeah, proper. Anyway, whatever. So, after Jababi did that, after that stunt, I got Jababi, I was now single. And at that stage, because this dude had kind of, you know, gotten to my heartstrings by basically telling my cousin he'll buy me a phone just to holler at me. I thought it was romantic. I was like, hey, you can give that guy my number finally. It's fine. We can talk, right? I ignored the gut feeling that I had about him because I just found whatever under heaven it is that he was. I found his aggression and trying to get with me kind of attractive. Anyway, whatever. So I was like, fine, I'll go on one date with him, whatever. And I mean, the rest was history. We fell in love like really quite violently, quite fast and quickly. Immediately after I broke up with Jababi, I was running these streets with that other guy, right? And however, on our first date, I picked up that what I had told my cousin, that something about this dude is sketch, you know, was true. Indeed, he had issues with drugs. There was a criminal streak, the conversations that we were having, the things he'd done. I realized that this dude kind of glamorizes ill-gotten gain, at which point I kind of put my foot down, like literally on the first date, on some, dude, if you're into that kind of stuff, we're not gonna work out. And he liked me so much that he was like, no, he literally changed his mind right there, and lied and said, no, I'm not into that stuff anymore. I used to be into that stuff, but now I'm grown up and all that jazz. That was when I was a little bit younger, you know. Told me stories about how they used to travel, like basically make some strange deals and end up going overseas and whatnot because of ill-gotten gain. He was just a dude that was into umshigashiga. And when I came in, I was like, I don't want to date a dude with a criminal streak. I don't want to besuka, first of all, in prison. I don't want to visit a guy in prison. And secondly, I also don't want to bury a boyfriend. Like, my goodness, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, there was this girl in high school that was in my class that was always, like, every year there was a boyfriend that died. Or two. Like, I remember one year, 2 of her boyfriends passed away. I was like, why do you keep, at such a young age or a teenager, like, mourning boyfriends? It's because she was dating ginzas. She used to date a ginza as a teenage girl. So sometimes he just got shot dead. And I was like, whoa, I'm not gonna be, let's say her name was Pinky. I was like, I'm not gonna be like Pinky, like mourning at like just 22. I'm not doing it. So for me, I was like, if you're that kind of guy, I'm sorry, we're not doing it. At which point he realized that I was a good girl, right? And that I was not the kind of woman to glamorize crime. I was not the kind of woman to glamorize, what do you call this? Like a boyfriend bringing her a Gucci bag because he prospered to somehow steal it from the Gucci store, or he somehow managed to raise like 25,000 rands and decided that with some of that money is gonna go to Gucci, go send an along regular a purse. You know, I was like, I made it clear to him in not so many words on our first date that I'm not the kind of woman that is going to ever glamorize a life of crime because you buy me things. So that made him realize that, okay, this is a different woman. She's not the typical kind of woman that I've been with in the past that love money so much that they don't care where I get mine. He had a job. We were both young. I was 22, he was 26. Nasebetsa call centering, Lena nikisebetsa call centering. But there was a way that he used to make money extra on the side, and I pretty much told him that that's gotta stop. Like, literally, accept your little meager call center salary. The two of us will grow together, or I'm leaving. Because, like I said, I'm not gonna pisuka in prison or even attend the funeral of a boyfriend. I'm not gonna glamorize crime. I'm not that girl. Because he liked me that much, and I think that was one of the biggest reasons why he fell for me. He was like, oh, and another thing that he also had as an issue, drugs. Like, he used to just every so often experiment with snuffing lines of cocaine or taking ecstasy or whatever. I was like, I will never be the kind of girl to take drugs with you, and I also will not be with a guy that's into drugs. Our first kiss was that very same first date, and his tongue was so dry. I found out that the reason why that's the case later on, when I sort of kind of studied into the matter, was because he was, a drug user. And so apparently drugs, they dry out your mouth, type establishment thing, and his tongue was dry. His mouth was dry. And I was like, I've never kissed a guy like that before. And lo and behold, a couple of months down the line from our relationship commencing, that dryness left him because he actually listened to me. He listened to me. He liked me that much. He changed for me. He did. He stopped them shiga business for 5 seconds. He also stopped taking drugs for 5 seconds. He stopped to a point, like I said, I could feel in his mouth that he was no longer dry as time progressed, right? Basically, whatever happens to your mucous membranes when you take drugs, he recovered from it, evidencing that he has stopped using. Okay? Very well. This dude heeded me. Initially, when we spoke, he was like, I've met a good girl. I remember one time, I'm phonela from a party or whatever, and he was like, I'm bored over here. I just want to go home because I don't need to be here anymore. So he calmed down. He calmed down hard knock because of me. He slowed down a whole bunch to a point where his mother and his grandmother fell head over heels in love with me because I apparently was the first woman to come into his life to basically subdue a little beast. The beast that he was, I apparently subdued it, and that's why his mother was my biggest fan. And his grandmother. Very well, right? Basically, his family really liked me, except for the dad, because you see, the issue is in a misogynistic climate that was basically, that counseled my boyfriend unto the end of, you don't let a woman tell you what to do, you don't let a woman run you. And among the people that used to tell him this was his dad, that you need to take your ground, make your stand, otherwise this woman is going to be too strong for you, and she's going to basically be the one to wear the pants in the relationship, and you shouldn't allow that to happen. I wasn't trying to wear the pants. I was just not trying to be with a little criminal dude. And so all the things that he left at the door to be with me, his boys were like, yo, nah, this person is whipped, and frankly unacceptably so, because this woman is changing our friend. Like, this female is changing Unganwe too. This woman has made our friend stop with the drugs. This woman has made our friend, like, he's literally telling us, no, I'm cool with the ecstasy tonight. When we go out partying, he is drinking less, and if anything, never mind drinking less, he stopped spending all his time with them, and we were always together. Like, so much so was I always with my boyfriend that even when their girlfriends were not there, I was there. His friends got paranoid. I was the one that never changed. Like, these guys would come, you know how they would play different women and they would rock up with different girls at like different parties every weekend or whatever. And I think they had a problem with it because they were like, Ukarabo knows imedizetu. And when we decide to go to Yobamba, different women, Karabo's there. What if she ends up telling our medis, our main girls basically, that I got close with? I became friends with the main chicks, right? What if she ends up telling them that Mina Mingmambe, some other girl, because I saw so many of their side chicks, because I was always with my boyfriend. Like, he never changed it up, whereas they were always switching it up. A storm that I believe they developed qualms with him, and it was like, guys, our honeymoon phase lasted 6 months, and that's like I always say that my boyfriend, my ex, and I were supposed to break up after 6 months of dating, and that our relationship lasted 4.5 years, much too long, because it was at the 6-month mark when honeymoon fell out the window. Indeed, something in his life that was very sad happened that contributed to basically his downward spiral. But he was already starting to change on me even before that thing, because his boys, I remember, like, he used to work close to me where I used to work, right? We used to work both in downtown Joburg, in Braamfontein, and so we used to meet in the beginning of our relationship. We used to meet during lunch, and we would exchange, like, 1 week I'd make lunch, and then the next week he'd be the one to make lunch and bring it, right? And we'd meet at this like one spot where we'd have lunch together, type establishment thing. One time one of his colleagues walked past us while we were having lunch at this spot where we met, because remember, his office building was not far from where it is that we used to have lunch together. And his colleague flat out said to him in front of me, almost like I wasn't even there, he's like, no wonder you're so whipped. You keep on leaving the office every single day to meet this woman. Now I see why. It's because we are Glisa. He was like, nah, I'm basically bewitching my boyfriend, and that's why he's so in love with me. At that time, I laughed because I thought, like, I thought nothing of it. I did not know that sorcery was such a part and parcel of the dating game in South Africa. I had no clue. So when this guy accused me of Uglisi boyfriend, I thought that he was joking. I thought he was just saying, my goodness, you are so in love with her that she's bedazzled you. I guess, girl, congratulations, you subdued a beast that we could not subdue. But this dude was serious, because the epidemic of witchcraft in South Africa is that bad, to a point where when a man genuinely falls in love with a woman to a point of actually transforming his life for her, something that is good in the sight of God, however, you should not be dating and fornicating and all that jazz, but I didn't know that yet, something that is actually good is gazed upon as suspect in a country that absolutely loves witchcraft. Anyway, guys, I need to use the bathroom, and I've already spoken past 30 minutes right now, so we'll move into the next part and continue to tell the story once I've done whatever next part.